Hey, you! You look antsy. It's like you've been waiting for this moment for years now or something. Well, here we are again, one more time. Are you ready to finish an Undeniably Canon FNaF Timeline? What? Well, that's too bad. We're finishing this anyway. We return to the year 2023. Again. Michael Afton, CEO of Fazbear Entertainment, had finally fulfilled his greatest achievement, reviving his younger brother, Gregory Afton, with Fazgoo. Right when Mike was about to celebrate, however, he realized that his brother had been reborn in a very literal sense. Making a whole person out of virtually nothing seemed not to work as well as he expected, so Mike was left to raise a baby. And raise a baby he would. With no experience in childcare, Mike looked through employee records to see if he had anyone at Fazbear Entertainment that would be willing to help for cheap. Soon enough, he discovered that the only employee of the Fazbear Games department, an endoskeleton called the Mimic, was directly designed to be a free babysitter. After inviting the Mimic to his house, Mike showed the animatronic his gooey brother, asking what it could do. Mimic then handcrafted a little outfit for the boy out of some spare lace, and Mike was sold. Baby Gregory, however, had his suspicions. Sure enough, as time passed, Gregory caught the Mimic calling him the wrong name a few too many times for it to be a coincidence.
Yummy, yummy chocolate chip. Would you like another, David?
Mimic didn't care about him. He was just a substitute for some other kid. So Gregory formed his first ever scheme, to find a way to dispose of the Mimic. After 2 years of impressing Michael with his rapid growth of intellect, Gregory was put in charge of the Pizza Place Museum project, an underground showcase of Michael's first business venture. Now that Gregory was in charge of everything being shipped in and out of the pizza place, he lured the Mimic into a delivery truck to trap it in the sinkhole. Unfortunately, once the Mimic arrived, one of the workers tried to make it help disassemble endoskeletons left in the wreckage. The Mimic, annoyed with its predicament, ignored the suggestion and disassembled the workers instead. Now that the museum project was ruined, Michael grounded Gregory for a month and banned him from any more Fazbear leadership roles. When Gregory turned 4, Michael showcased the designs of the Glamrock animatronics to him and the Pizzaplex's lead technicians. This band consisted of Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and a throwback character named Montgomery Gator. One of the technicians, who just so happened to be Jeremy Fitzgerald II, had brought his daughter Cassie to work to see what she thought of these characters. After carefully thinking about what lay before her, Cassie looked at her can of root beer and whispered something into Gregory's ear. Gregory immediately grabbed some crayons and altered the concept art for Foxy, transitioning the pirate into a stylish wolf named Roxy. Michael wasn't sure about replacing Foxy like that, but Jeremy's glare made it apparent he could compromise by throwing Captain Foxy in a log ride or something. After completing the animatronics, Michael proudly unveiled his creation to Gregory. Their brand new bear dad, Glamrock Freddy. At last, Michael's big, happy family would be complete. Gregory's eyes, however, immediately twinkled with malice. Michael had just given him the ultimate weapon, a robotic best friend that he could use for any purpose he desired. Whether it be harmless games, not-so-harmless pranks, or the downfall of his enemies, Gregory had absolute power at his fingertips. So, naturally, he smiled and said thank you before running off to play with Freddy. As the Pizzaplex wrapped up construction, Michael realized he had accidentally let them build it right over his house. After telling Gregory they'd be living in the remnants of their living room, the boy told him he'd just knock out the cameras and live in Freddy's green room instead. The best Michael could get from Gregory after that point was the occasional vacation in the Pizzaplex sewers, though it seemed like the boy mainly agreed to it as a tactical maneuver. On the bright side, Mike's refrigerator innovations led him to the creation of premium charging pods. Not only could they restore his good looks much faster than his old fridge, they were perfectly designed for cheaply recharging the animatronics' budget-friendly batteries. With the Pizzaplex now open, Fazbear Entertainment saw overwhelming success with their attractions and animatronics, and sought to capitalize on this fortune. In a board meeting to discuss how to boost their bottom line, Chairman Mr. Burrows piped up with an idea.
Okay, hear me out. A giant baobab tree that runs on that cool Mimic software.
The other executives murmured to themselves, incredibly keen on firing their creatives, but not so sure about using the Mimic after the museum massacre. Mr. Burrows continued to argue for his case, touting his status as a 35-year-old business prodigy as a reason to trust his judgment. One board member, however, knew full well Burrows made that backstory up during this conversation. With past experience of the potential consequences, the man revealed an astonishing secret.
My name is Edwin. I made the mimic. It'd be difficult to put the tree together. And, additionally, layoffs are a low blow. So now I can't do anything but disagree with Burroughs.
What if we made it rainbow-colored?
To Edwin's dismay, the entire board of directors sided with Mr. Burroughs and fired all of the creative staff immediately. Not even caring that he was Henry Emily's iconic college buddy, everyone made Edwin go down to retrieve the mimic so they could use it for the tree. Once the mimic got shoved into a giant metal tiger head, construction on the storyteller began. Once finished, it would automatically generate thrilling new stories for the animatronics to perform without any need for pesky writers.
Why do they call it oven?
When you up in the cold food, up out hot, eat the food.
I'm going to learn about it!
This traumatized the animatronics and Edwin wouldn't stand for it, so he infiltrated the storyteller to try and shut it down. After the door locked by accident, though, he immediately went crazy and drew nonsense codes on the wall before dropping dead. His absence made Mr. Burroughs think he was being conspired against, so he went into the storyteller as well to settle things the old-fashioned way. Unfortunately, whatever code Edwin had written instilled enough terror in Mr. Burroughs to kill him on the spot. With the entire project completely backfiring, Mike opted to destroy the storyteller, throw it and the mimic back in the sinkhole, and pretend nothing happened. This strategy proved successful. Aside from a few isolated incidents that were swiftly covered up, the Pizzaplex dominated as the greatest entertainment complex in the world with little pushback. Meanwhile, Vanessa Shelley had gotten situated in her new career as the head of security. She hadn't directly spoken to Michael in years, but William Afton kept her plenty occupied. He had been begging her endlessly to get around to making the rabbit suit she promised him, but with an exhausting full-time job, she did not have the energy to appease him. Though dancing around in a rabbit costume did sound tempting. In an attempt to compromise, Vanessa dusted off an old AI storage computer labeled Remixes to project Glitchtrap's soul as an autonomous entity. Making some revisions to the console's name, Vanessa assumed her parasitic companion would be free to roam as he pleased. Thrilled about its new form, William emerged with the sense of newfound freedom.
Hello, William.
Fiona?
After getting a rundown of what to expect from this mysterious old familiar of his, William and Vanessa learned the unfortunate truth that the most agency he had in this form was teleporting around in cool poses and not much else. To at least live vicariously through Vanessa, William revealed he could wreck her credit score with his new digital powers. This scared her enough to hastily sew together a costume, and upon its completion, he declared her rabbit self to be named Vanny.
Wait, Vanny?
Yes, it is a clever mixture of the words Vanessa and Bunny.
That's really stupid. And please, drop that British accent already.
You can't tell me what to do!
Yeah, like that.
Insulted by Vanessa's dwindling patience with him, William figured out how to lock her into his AR world until she proved herself. Vanny, wanting to be done with this as fast as possible, bet a group of teenagers they couldn't all fit in the garbage chute at once. Once they all stood in place, Vanny dropped them down into the sinkhole, and this pleased William enough to leave her alone. When they came to, they all watched a metal figure supplying massive pieces of scrap to a monstrous blob of junk. A face emerged from the animatronic titan and cast its forlorn gaze upon them. The mimic, alerted to their presence, locked murderous eyes onto the kids and began approaching them. Panicking and cornered, the kids began squabbling in teen drama before their imminent doom. Suddenly, the Tangle reached its wiry tentacles out and grabbed the mimic, and meticulously tampered with it for a moment, before dropping it and slithering away. The kids watched in confusion as the mimic spontaneously crafted a board game for them to play. The rules were dubious at best, but the group figured it was worth trying out, and soon they began role-playing an adventure where the mimic masqueraded as different characters in an effort to stop the party from preventing an animatronic apocalypse. By the time the story came to a close, the last girl standing got a bit too excited and accidentally spring-locked the mimic in an old jester costume. The kids decided not to risk messing it up anymore, and quietly made an escape from the sinkhole and never told a soul what unfolded. Around 2032, after a period of relative peace in the Pizzaplex, disaster struck. The spirit of Andrew had finally wandered back to Hurricane after going on a ghostly road trip for self-improvement. He finally felt confident enough to stand up to William Afton once again, so he perused the Pizzaplex to try and find both Afton and an animatronic to haunt. To Andrew's delight, Fazbear Entertainment finally got around to making a new alligator robot like his old Halloween mask, so Andrew immediately possessed Monty Gator and began his hunt for Afton. The personalities of Andrew and Monty meshed a little too well, though. After the storyteller incident, Monty had developed significant anger issues and an unfounded urge to kill Glamrock Bonnie. Andrew, knowing Afton's obsession with being a bunny, figured that Monty was onto something and they went to hunt the rabbit down. Conveniently, Bonnie walked right up to Monty to ask a question.
Hey, Monty, you got a silver tongue. How would you describe bowling in 3 words?
Rock and roll!
One strike to the face later, Glamrock Bonnie was murdered and decidedly not William. At this point, Andrew reasoned that perhaps it was a bit rash to kill a guy before properly deducing whether or not he was Afton. Not particularly wanting to deal with the aftermath, he ditched Monty and left the Gator to cover his tracks. Unfortunately for Monty, the entire nighttime security team caught him red-handed as he dragged the dead rabbit into the back room of Bonnie Bowl. Quickly forming a plan to get away with this crime, Monty screamed about an all-staff meeting happening the next night and made a run for it before any of the staff could process what was going on. The next day, once all the nighttime employees arrived at the all-staff meeting, Monty politely walked in front of the crowd and regretfully informed them that they were being laid off. When pressed for how he had the authority to issue orders like that, Monty switched to Plan B and released the Mimic into the room to kill everybody. This went about as well as you'd expect. Michael, livid about the legal issues this presented, just promoted Monty to Bonnie's former position as the band's bassist to get him out of the way. Scrambling for a solution to the massacre, Mike kicked the Mimic back into the basement, checked through old records, and came up with staff bots as a quick way to replace his dead employees. Somehow, the legal ambiguity of robotically revived murder victims left Fazbear Entertainment completely exempt from any form of punishment. And all the families affected by this event just had to deal with their relatives being flimsy animatronic butlers now. Andrew, witnessing the fallout of his rash behavior, finally realized he had been causing more problems than he was solving. He didn't want to keep making the same mistakes anymore, so he took his self-improvement to heart and looked for a vessel that could help him turn over a new leaf. After searching the Pizzaplex with no characters catching his eye, Andrew decided to take a break and catch a show at the daycare's Fazbear Theater. To his surprise, he saw a performance unlike anything he'd ever seen. A transforming animatronic, one moment the heroic sun, another the mischievous moon, made for a thrilling spectacle for his little ghost heart. If he wanted to spread more light in the world, there was no better option than the sun itself. So he popped straight into the animatronic and accidentally hijacked the performance with newfound clumsiness. Immediately being scolded by a pretentious staff bot, Sun anxiously tried to explain himself before getting kicked out for making himself a C-list actor in one night. Not sure what to make of his predicament, he immediately tapped into the spirit realm to pull an old friend out of it.
Jake! You've gotta help me!
Who is this?
It's me, Andrew! I'm in a shape-shifting animatronic that just got fired from a theater gig! What do I do?
I guess I can help?
Great! Get over here! Home run!
Once Jake possessed the animatronic, he quickly realized he was not in the pilot seat like he was in the Stitch Wraith. As a matter of fact, all of his senses were mostly suppressed, besides Andrew's new voice rattling off endlessly about anything and everything. Regardless, Jake did want to help him, so being given the reins via sun changing to moon at night, he sought out a meeting with the only employee around to try and find a new role at the Pizzaplex. He didn't know exactly where to look, but soon he found a strange rabbit lady dancing through the vacant halls and figured she must have been someone important. A bit embarrassed by being caught in her hour of whimsy, Vanny introduced herself to Moon as a security guard with too much time on her hands. Moon asked her if she'd be able to give him and his alter ego a new job since they were banned from the theater, and she promptly promoted them to the position of daycare attendant. Before he could thank her, though, Vanny abruptly sprinted off without a word. Suspicious, Moon quickly followed her trail, trying not to be too giddy over the sheer amount of mobility he finally had for himself. Once he caught up to her, he witnessed an argument she was having with another, much more unusual rabbit.
Vanny, what is my one thing?
Complaining about $5?
Besides that!
Child murder?
What an astute observation. And what did you just do?
Hire a babysitter?
Yes! What the hell, man?
The daycare's not my problem. How could I not hire backup when it's handed to me on a silver platter, Mr. F?
Nexus! Mr. Nexus! That's what you would want to say? We don't need eavesdroppers knowing our brand secrets!
That was enough of that. Moon immediately clocked that the weird digital rabbit was the same guy he had to put up with in the Stitch Wraith. Already sick of William's nonsense, Moon decided to go right back to the daycare and take a much-needed nap. Before he could rest his eyes, though, the blaring of security bots startled him wide awake. Turns out some little boy was deliberately messing with them before jumping into Freddy Fazbear's chest cavity and moving on to the next one. Regardless, that wasn't really his problem, so Moon figured it'd be best to leave it alone and everything would sort itself out in due time. After all, he could just nap while Sun was active in the day. Except he couldn't. The muffled yet blaring music of the daycare, noisy toddlers, and Sun's erratic voice kept Moon wide awake day after day. And night after night, the staffbots and trespassers and rabbits would keep him awake during what should have been his perfect nap time. Despite wanting to help his friend, Moon never really got a say in the matter, and resentment was soon to follow. He ditched his paradise for sleep deprivation and drug dealing? Moon was at his breaking point. So he started to do something about it. Anything that made noise at night would be forced to sleep, one way or another. A staffbot tries to make an alert, shredded. An endo breaks out of the nursery, recycled. Moon's nightly patrols knew no mercy, and Vanessa caught notice. So she threatened Sun that she'd kick them out of the Pizzaplex if he couldn't keep Moon under control. When Sun tried to warn Moon about this, though, Moon swiftly disregarded it. They did just fine wandering the streets before. There was no need for this overstimulating routine. Sun, still assuming Moon could sleep just fine and was just going rogue, did not want to let go of the best thing that happened to him. So he did everything in his power to suppress Moon's control. To keep the lights on, he installed hilariously unsafe generators in the daycare play tunnels that would keep it bright 24/7. But without any rest himself, Sun grew increasingly anxious and high-strung, while Moon grew even angrier. A few years later, we reached 2035. Gregory, now a Pizzaplex cryptid in his own right, had settled into a consistent routine alongside his bear dad, Glamrock Freddy. Every day, Gregory would go around the Fazcades and rack up the top scores on every game he could touch. Dissatisfied with just being the best, though, he also hacked each machine to boost his high scores to something truly inhuman. This caught the eye of one of his school friends, Tony, who did a private investigation on the mysterious GGY, discovering that he was a cheating hacker and probably killed their school counselors. When he tried to submit his findings in a group project, Gregory scribbled over the essay with a fantastical story featuring rabbits and tentacle monsters. Desperate to assert the truth, Tony left a tip to the local news about Gregory's nefarious activities. Little to his knowledge, though, Gregory had already tampered with it, too. Needing to dispose of Tony, Gregory lured him into the Pizzaplex during a Fred masquerade and tricked the boy into walking straight into the jaws of Freddy Fazbear. When authorities came knocking, everyone blamed Dave because he sucked. After that was settled, Gregory decided it was time to unwind for the week leading up to his birthday, so he rang up Cassie and invited her to sneak into the Pizzaplex while it was closed for cleaning. Cassie, feeling particularly fond of him after he saved her terrible birthday party, agreed without question. Unfortunately, she forgot that Gregory was still a menace at heart. What started as a simple hide-and-seek game turned into a Freddy's gonna kill you simulator within minutes, before Gregory pulled the rug under her feet again to reveal it was a prank. Despite how mad Cassie was at him for this, Gregory decided to do it again with Monty the next night. By the third night, however, Gregory was a little bit stressed. Michael had replaced their usual janitorial staff with a new animatronic, and this thing used only the deadliest of chemicals to do its dirty work. So the kids had to be very careful to not catch its attention. Gregory, intending to find a way to deactivate it, split off with Freddy while Cassie teamed up with Roxanne Wolf. As they ventured out into the wider Pizzaplex, the duo swiftly encountered the animatronic.
What is that? It's the reagent.
While Roxy went out to distract the reagent, Cassie booked it to the kitchen, hoping to hide for a good long while. Soon enough, though, the reagent made its way in there and made a great effort to melt her eyes with dastardly chemicals. Luckily, Roxy kicked it out of there and rescued Cassie before any harm could be done. When Cassie woke up the next day, she and Roxy went to find Gregory and Freddy, just to find them arguing furiously. Before they knew it, the bear took a bite into Gregory's face without a second thought. Horrified, Cassie found herself being chased by Freddy while the bear kept repeating "Do the job again." Cassie didn't really know what this meant, but it sounded scary enough for Roxy to knock Freddy unconscious with a chair. Gregory suddenly popped out of his chest cavity, possibly sustaining a mild concussion. When questioned how he survived, he simply stated that while Freddy's teeth were sharp, they couldn't hurt a rubber boy. Great safety feature. He also exposed Roxy as being in on this whole prank, leading Cassie to distrust all three of them, and she ran to hide elsewhere. The next night, Roxy managed to find Cassie and apologized for the prank. With that settled, the wolf also mentioned that Gregory reprogrammed her to kill Cassie within the next 5 minutes to see if she was rubber too. Given she was not made of Fazgoo, Cassie instead made some expert navigational decisions to get Roxy to parts and service in time and restore her original code. After fixing her up, she also souped up Roxy with Monty's arms so they could finally take care of the reagent. Once they found it, Roxy punched it dead with one hit, and that was that. Cassie, against her better judgment, decided to forgive Gregory for his antics yet again, and he invited her to come back again the next day. With that, Gregory's 12th birthday had arrived. For whatever reason, Michael had been especially fixated on the event all week. Gregory didn't find it any more important than his past extravagant birthdays, but he decided not to question it. While Mike frantically prepared the animatronics for the greatest performance of their lives, Gregory snuck off to the West Arcade to beat his own ludicrous high scores again. Despite living at the Pizzaplex, Gregory wasn't exactly registered in the building's database. Michael said it was to stick it to the man, despite the fact that he was the man in question. This usually wasn't an issue, but this time was different. Officer Vanessa, sensing something suspicious about the child, snatched him by his collar and demanded information on who he was. He refused to answer her, so she decided to take him to her company-issued psychologist to try and get information out of him there. Instead of talking, though, Gregory just death-stared his attempted therapist to get this nonsense over with. Mexis, silently watching from the AR world, finally remembered that he had a second son upon seeing his trademark murder technique used so effortlessly by this boy. He begged Vanessa to bring him in as an apprentice, to which she snappily refused. It was one thing to be bossing her around all the time, but it was another to replace her as his favorite lackey when he was still obnoxiously codependent. So Vanessa finally put her foot down. After kicking Gregory out of the therapist's office, threatening to catch him later, she marched right down to the basement to find an old endoskeleton to shove William's soul into.
How about this thing? It can mimic whatever you want, I'm pretty sure.
How intriguing. Try it. I hate him. Throw him in the dungeon!
No, I hate him.
Vanny, befuddled by Afton's disdain for this perfectly good, albeit sassy, endoskeleton, went ahead and sent it back to its designated mimic lair. Still determined to get William out of her hair, she rummaged through the trash on display in Rockstar Row to see if any Spring Bonnie remains were present. Luckily, there were. What was left of the costumes was in terrible shape, but it would do. So she grafted the remaining Springlock components to a spare Glamrock endoskeleton and bolted the suit back together. Afton, delighted at the sight of a mostly authentic restoration of his body, immediately hopped into the Springtrap suit to possess it. He didn't feel quite dressed without any flesh, so he hopped into a charging pod to regenerate his corpse. With William occupied, Vanessa was finally able to focus on tracking Gregory down again and find out what his deal was. Gregory, wandering around the atrium waiting for his birthday party to start, noticed Vanessa emerge from Roxy Raceway. Not in the mood to be interrogated, he looked around for a hiding spot and decided Glamrock Freddy would do the trick. Freddy, taking an unauthorized break, was completely out of it. Michael had been trying to get his spirits up all day, but Freddy was more torn up about Bonnie's absence than usual. With an impending party this important, how was Freddy supposed to keep his composure without his beloved bunny? Gregory felt a twinge of remorse for the animatronic bear, but he had more pressing matters at hand. So while Freddy was distracted with grief, Gregory popped open his stomach hatch and crawled inside. After Michael finished his preparations, he went back to his disembodied living room to relax before the show began. He intended to listen to his employees' therapy recordings while watching a looping clip of Freddy and Friends on TV, but fate had different plans. A ciphered message was written on his wall. Intimidated by someone managing to sneak in to do this, Mike steeled himself and began attempting to decode the message. He'd figure out what this meant, even if it took him all night. Soon the birthday party was ready to begin. After trying his best to prepare himself, Freddy entered the center concert stage with the other Glamrocks to perform the most important show of his life. And he blew it. Feeling hundreds of eyes staring him down, and with no rabbit companion to ease his nerves, Freddy had a nervous breakdown in the middle of the performance and collapsed on the ground. Chica and Roxy, both concerned for Freddy's well-being, dropped everything they were doing and got him down to parts and service. Monty just kept performing without noticing everyone else left, and nobody really wanted to stop his groove for the sake of their health. After giving Freddy an examination, Jeremy deemed he was unfit for any more intensive activity for the next 2 weeks. So, to make sure Freddy didn't try and overexert himself, Jeremy temporarily wiped his memory and put him on safe mode in order to rest. Once that was done, Freddy was taken back to his green room and the animatronics disbanded for the night. Vanessa, frustrated and drained from having to manage the angry crowd following Freddy's accident, finally cleared everybody out of the Pizzaplex for the night. However, she remembered she never found Gregory and knew he was still somewhere in the building. To make her life less difficult, she sent out a directive to all of the animatronics to find and capture Gregory by any means necessary. Except Freddy. She thought he'd just spontaneously combust in conflict. But ironically, when Freddy came to, he quickly discovered that a child was hiding in his stomach hatch.
What are you doing here? Who are you?
It's me! What the heck are you talking about?
I cannot find you in my database. You are not Norman Bedroom, are you?
I'm Gregory!
After Gregory explained that Vanessa was out to get him, Freddy vowed to help him safely leave the Pizzaplex before the doors closed. By the time they actually got to the front lobby, though, Gregory was locked inside for the night. Freddy, still determined to help Gregory, sent the boy running around the lobby for an entry pass to the atrium. All that ended up doing, though, was give Gregory access to the daycare. Gregory was never a big fan of that place, but when push comes to shove, you have to wallow in toddler territory for the greater good. Much to his dismay, Gregory was quickly spotted by Sun, and the Solar Jester quickly got far too overbearing for the boy to handle.
Hey, pal! Do you want a finger paint? Play Uno? Anything you want, friend!
We are not friends! You don't even know my name!
No, I totally do! You're Chris, right?
Gregory promptly kicked Sun in the kneecaps and made a mess to distract him, booking it to the security desk to gain access to more of the building. Doing this somehow shut off all the lights in the daycare, causing Sun to painfully transform. Moon, having been suppressed for who knows how long, cared not for civility and seized the opportunity to just kill Gregory and make everything quiet for once. Gregory, terrified of the Moon's wiggly fingers, grabbed a flashlight and dashed around the daycare to start up the generators littered across the play structures. Restarting the power locked Moon away again, but a vengeful Sun immediately grabbed Gregory and hurled him out of the daycare, declaring him banned. Gregory was more relieved than anything, until of course the entire building's power went out, once again unleashing Moon to strive for his lethal nap time. Gregory and Freddy ran for the nearest charging pod for Freddy to catch his breath, but as Freddy recharged, Gregory caught sight of something unsettling. Vanessa, alerted to Gregory's presence by the daycare's commotion, decided to bring out the rabbit costume to try and just kill him herself. This was a bit much, but she figured he deserved it at this point.
Freddy! Do you see the dancing rabbit lady right there?
Do not be silly, Gregory. Rabbits cannot dance. Bonnie was built with 2 left feet, and he is dead. Now I am sad again.
After Vanny left to search the daycare, Gregory made his way to the atrium and let Freddy have some alone time. Debating where to go with his extra bit of security clearance, Gregory hopped down the ventilation shaft to the kitchen. There he encountered Glamrock Chica and promptly shoved her into the trash compactor. Chica, absolutely crushed by this unwarranted attack, quickly grabbed Gregory and dragged him down the garbage chute with her. This fall knocked her out, but Gregory was built different. So he snatched her voice box and made his way through the sewers as she tried to regain her footing and take her voice back. Vanny just so happened to be searching down here when Gregory raced right past her, but by the time she caught up to him, he locked the door to the staffbot silo and she couldn't find her keys. With the night she was having, Vanny reasoned that maybe she just needed to give up and let Gregory find her hideout instead. Gregory, surprised by the state of the staffbot silo, wondered what could have left behind all of these strange notes and family dioramas. It was Jerry right there. Satisfied with this answer, Gregory took a trip to Roxy Raceway to try and find a go-kart to run her over with. He wasn't sure why he had the urge to hit the dog, but if it meant he lived another day, he wasn't going to question it. Unfortunately, the driver assist bot he needed to actually use a go-kart was broken. Freddy informed him that a repair could be made in the West Arcade, so Gregory turned back around to head there. Bad news was, trying to use the head repair machine activated bouncer mode for the mighty DJ Music Man. Although the DJ was usually a chill guy, bouncer mode reminded him of his deepest personal failures, making him into a terrifying force of nature. So Gregory had to run around the enormous arcade with every animatronic on his trail to attempt an emergency shutdown. After flipping every switch and barely escaping from the DJ's janitorial tunnel of doom, Gregory successfully calmed him down and got the staffbot's head fixed up. So he rushed back to the raceway, hopped in the go-kart, and crashed right into Roxy's face. After the initial wave of adrenaline wore off, Gregory only then realized that he just bashed in the face of Cassie's favorite character. Not quite sure how to rectify this, he just went ahead and stole Roxy's patented X-ray eyes and hoped Cassie wouldn't find out. Finally, after turning into his primal goo and seeping through Chica's mazer-size area to find its ventilation shaft, Gregory made his way to Monty Golf's catwalks to confront the Gator himself. Monty, right on cue, jumped down from the gondolas and began his pursuit. Gregory then dropped a giant bucket onto Monty and snapped him in half. After jumping down to where Monty and his legs fell, Gregory proceeded to snap off the Gator's hands just to make his day worse. Defiantly, Monty instantly grew new ones, and Gregory sighed in disappointment. Reconvening with Freddy, Gregory got to work upgrading his body with the stolen pieces of the other Glamrocks. He wasn't quite skilled enough with robotics yet to do this alone, so he deployed the auto-assist. The auto-assist, who just turned out to be the Mimic, was very fascinated by Gregory and his bond with Freddy.
How did you become friends with the animatronic before us?
I don't know. I just said I'm Gregory and we hit it off from there.
I'm Gregory?
No, but you are finished helping.
Gregory then sent the Mimic safely back down to the basement. Once Freddy awoke from his robotic surgery, he realized that he had harvested parts of his friends and Monty. When he asked Gregory where he got these, Gregory dodged the question and told him they were probably fine. Freddy was okay with this. Now that Freddy was adequately suited up for battle, the duo began their trek to the exit. On their way to it, though, Vanessa's voice blared from the intercoms.
Listen here, what's your name, Evan?
I'm Gregory!
Don't care, I want you dead, capiche? Now excuse me. You've done such a good job tonight. Why don't you come over to the main stage? I have a reward for you.
Not at all appreciating whatever tone Vanessa was going for there, and assuming she was lying about there being anything at the stage anyway, Gregory began drawing out every possible scenario for the endgame.
Hey, superstar. Why not just leave through the front doors? It is 6 a.m. and they are open now.
Can't. I'd be a hobo, then Vanny would find me, and I'd be a dead hobo.
What about the VIP exit?
You'd become radicalized, kill Vanny, and summon her robot clone.
What about investigating her secret lair in Fazbear?
I would be able to assassinate her, but you'd get decapitated like a chump.
Freddy was a bit disturbed by Gregory's imagination, but he was endeared by his creativity all the same. After they discussed more possibilities, they remembered that they hadn't checked anything going on in the basement. So, thanks to Freddy's new upgrades, the duo got through the barricades leading to the old elevator in Roxy Raceway and went down the sinkhole. This was gonna take a while. Little to their knowledge, there was something on its way upward, ready to cause even more destruction than Gregory already wrought. For years, the Tangle had stirred alone in its overwhelming agony within the depths of the sinkhole. It was resigned to stay there in its misery for the rest of time, but something about this night instilled a brutal sense of clarity that things were about to get a lot worse if it didn't rise to action. So, rise it did. It rose to the surface of the Pizzaplex, cracking the Earth's foundations to cause the building to collapse in a quake. This legacy was meant to be destroyed, and it couldn't sit by idly anymore. With that out of the way, the Tangle could feel that something else needed to be taken care of back at the bottom. So it receded into the ground to replenish its energy and make its final stand. Oh, and Jeremy Fitzgerald II was down in the basement too. Michael had just assigned him to test out Vanessa's new engineering technology, the Vanny network. Doing work within the pizza place was actually pretty fun, but it soon came to Jeremy's attention that disaster had been striking in the Pizzaplex. Not only did he notice that someone had wrecked all the Glamrocks, he had a particularly fussy son chastising his attempts at art. After he had enough and left, the earth began to violently rumble and the lights started flickering.
Let me out! I want out! No more light!
No, no, no! Stay asleep! Stay asleep!
Jeremy, ignoring the commotion coming from the daycare, quickly noticed the tremors destroying the Pizzaplex. But he was still on the clock, so he just had to deal with it. Doing what he could to soothe Roxy's insecurity about her ruined face, trying to help sate Chica's appetite, and taking bowling breaks between tasks, Jeremy was really getting in the groove of this AR technician work. The Vanny mask was a bit unnerving, but it vaguely reminded him of his old Bonnie mask. While he worked, Jeremy had even begun to find old Fast Force action figures, delighting his nostalgic heart. Unfortunately, once he had collected them all, he turned around to find that something was brewing in the charging pod behind him. William, appearing to Jeremy in the AR world as Glitchtrap, got sheepish thinking he was being watched and sent out some nightmarish staff bots to kill him. Jeremy's body was then stuffed in the nearest map bot to offload his work materials to someone else. In the meantime, Cassie Fitzgerald had returned to the Pizzaplex. Having just attended his disastrous birthday party the night before, Cassie received another, more pressing invitation from Gregory, claiming he was trapped in the sinkhole after a violent earthquake struck the area. Initially thinking this was another prank, Cassie looked around and saw that the entire pizzaplex was indeed in ruin. Determined to help her friend, she waded through the wreckage to find a way to him. After discovering a Roxy talkie in front of the elevator, Gregory explained to her that something had tunneled out of the raceway and destroyed everything. Making her way through the debris in a very messy Glamrock Chica, Cassie discovered her father's Faz wrench lying on a toolbox. She wasn't sure where Jeremy was, but perhaps she could find him during her search. As she made her way through the utility tunnels, Cassie thought to herself that things had been suspiciously safe for such a spooky environment. And then Monty tackled her down a pipe leading to the Gator Golf. Once Cassie regained consciousness, she quickly made her way to a lonely staff bot with peeled-up rabbit ears. It urged her to take a mask and offered up Jeremy's. Cassie felt something was very wrong, but decided to take its gift before it powered down. Now, Cassie had unlocked the power of phasing through walls, and achieved some Fitzgerald face trauma with the microchip stabbed into her skull. Thanks to this, a little companion named Helpy appeared in her line of sight to give her instructions and sometimes act snarky. She didn't care what he had to say though, so she skipped his dialogue prompt every time he popped up. Treading through Monty Golf, Cassie had started deactivating various security nodes, keeping the surviving electronics on lockdown. This triggered the arrival of a strange entity within the system, and it was ready to brawl. This entity was, of course, William Afton. While his new body kept brewing, he decided to check out the rumbling upstairs with Remixes, and found Cassie to be directly sabotaging his digital form's access to the pizzaplex. So, Remixes resorted to alerting the nearby animatronics of her presence anytime he got close enough to her. So Cassie was hightailing it through the ravaged pizzaplex like nobody's business. Once she got to the daycare, Cassie found the attendant in a pitiful state. Moon was in control, seemingly angrier than ever, but immediately gave up the hunt after reaching for Cassie once. Sun, trapped in the AR world, finally understood what he'd been putting Moon through all this time, and pleaded for Cassie to reboot them to become whole. Wasting no time, she trapped the daycare attendant under a series of spotlights and rebooted Sun and Moon into a unified eclipse. Now Andrew and Jake were in shared control of the animatronic, and they promptly took Cassie to where she needed to go next and thanked her for the help. After seeing footage of a supposed imposter chasing Gregory, getting swatted by a giant cupcake, and making her way through the ethereal console room, Cassie arrived at Roxy's salon. Seeing the disheveled wolf in such a tragic state broke her heart, but Roxy was still in attack mode trying to get revenge on Gregory. Luckily, Gregory lured Roxy away long enough for Cassie to get through the salon. She ran into Chica once again, watching the chicken collapse on the ground.
Chica? Chica, speak to me! Close enough. Get better soon.
As she tried to reach Bonnie Bowl, she encountered Monty once again, now swimming around in the remains of Captain Foxy's log ride. However, by powering the electricity to the door, she inadvertently sent a shockwave through the water and killed Monty. At the moment, this was preferable for everyone involved. Getting to Bonnie Bowl, she discovered hordes of tiny music men dancing in conga lines. When she asked them about this, they elaborated that they were haunted by a scattered war hero before trying to eat her ankles. Kicking off the music men, she discovered Bonnie's old green room, learned about his love life, then dove into the ventilation shaft before reaching Vanny's lair.
I found you, faker.
Faker? I think you're the fake rabbit around here.
Disarmed by Vanny's surprising reference to retro gaming, Cassie asked her if she had seen Gregory. Vanessa, pulling off her mask to show her unamused expression, told Cassie she had been hunting Gregory all night to no avail. Cassie explained that Gregory was trapped in the sinkhole, to which Vanessa snapped back to her senses and realized how bad this was. Leading Cassie down into Fazerblast, the two encountered what appeared to be Glamrock Freddy buried in the rubble. When Cassie asked if he was okay, the bear stood up and revealed it had no head and wanted to eat the pair of rabbits. This was not Freddy. This was his evil prototype from Nebraska. As they ran from the beast and got their masks back on, they discovered he couldn't see them in the AR world thanks to his lack of brain power. Now it was just a straight shot to the raceway. Roxy, aimlessly wandering the rubble, accidentally got in the way of Mexus's forklift patrol, and was involved in a second head-on collision for the day. Mexus, finding this slightly amusing but detrimental to his needs, went off to find an extra forklift to get it off of her. Right after that, Cassie and Vanny found Roxy awkwardly sitting under the wreckage, and Gregory informed Cassie that Roxy was the final security node to deactivate.
Cassie, Vanessa, I'd say I'm happy to see you, but, you know, would you like carrot cake?
Do you have carrot cake?
Don't ask stupid questions, of course I have it.
Roxy then pulled out a perfectly baked carrot cake, delighting Cassie and stumping Vanny. After they finished their treat, Vanessa cautioned Cassie that this may not be a good idea, but Gregory kept insisting that they had to hurry, and Cassie forced herself to put Roxy down. Back to the elevator, Gregory and Freddy had finally noticed something was wrong. For the past several hours, they forgot to actually press the elevator button to go down the sinkhole. As they made the descent, before them lay the almost mythic presence of Freddy Fazbear's pizza place. Whatever they were hoping to accomplish down here, this was the place to do it. After avoiding some bashful endoskeletons guarding the entrance, the duo descended a crater within the pizzeria's floor. There they came face to face with the Tangle. They weren't sure what to make of it, but they felt an intensely concentrated anger and confusion at its core, as well as a conflicting hunch that a large amount of it seemed more mildly inconvenienced than anything else. But that was besides the point. Freddy, seeing all of this, finally understood his purpose. Not just to perform, not just to be Gregory's friend, but to be his true protector. Whatever came next, he'd be sure to keep him safe from the sinkhole's hibernating evil. Speaking of which, William Afton finally got mostly done regrowing his corpse. Hearing Freddy babble about not being himself or whatever, William figured he could showcase his brand new body by attacking Freddy and whatever kid was with him. He didn't really want to deal with actually fighting them though, so he called upon the power of the Glamrocks to have his final stand against Freddy Fazbear. But, well, nobody showed up to help him. Afton, panicking about the possibility of Freddy barging into his office and burning his pants off, hastily threw his hand onto the camera monitor in front of him to manifest some kind of plan. To everybody's surprise, this began hacking Freddy without a hitch. Reeling in pain to resist Afton's control, Freddy urged Gregory to try and stop him. Afton, beginning to see through Freddy's eyes, noticed that the kid he was trying to take down was his own son. He began considering whether or not this bothered him, but he didn't have time to finish that thought. Gregory, seeing a burner activation button in front of him, quickly slammed his fist on it in hopes it still functioned. It did. Afton, horrified of the fire damaging his suit more than it already had, retreated to another room to try hacking Freddy again, without getting toasted in the burn traps. This song and dance looped for about 5 minutes, until the pizzeria began to rumble. The Tangle had once again stirred, and this time it was readying to attack Afton. William faced the beast, beholding its power and briefly thinking it could be of use to him. But the Tangle made its goal clear. Afton wasn't ready to die again, so once the Tangle grabbed him by the neck, he started pleading for it to consider how hard he worked for this.
Do you know how hard I've worked for this company? For us? Just to see you destroy everything we've touched.
I have no idea who you are.
At that remark, the Tangle rested Afton back down on the floor. Afton took a good long look at the blobby mass, thought about what it said, and everything clicked. The Tangle was Henry. And a boiling pot of a bunch of other spirits, but Afton didn't care about them. As Afton silently stared at the Tangle in shock, Cassie and Vanessa made their way down to the pizza place. Finding Freddy and Gregory, Cassie told Gregory she got his message, to which he looked at her confused, until remembering that he had just talked to the Mimic a few hours earlier. Sure enough, sitting in a nearby room was the Mimic, realizing the jig was up and nervously backing away from the children's line of sight.
It appears your performance was lacking. Would you like to try a veterinary training program?
I don't want to hear it, Mom!
Then, Roxy raced into the building as well, terrified that Cassie was going to be caught in a life-or-death situation. Thankfully, she was fine, and Roxy had even brought the mask bot with her after it was assigned to rescue her. At last, Jeremy and Cassie were reunited, albeit unconventionally. Vanessa decided now was as good a time as any to apologize to Gregory for trying to kill him, to which the boy sternly glared at her before softening his expression and forgiving her. With everyone reunited, the Tangle raised its voice once again.
I still don't understand. Why did you do any of this? Why are we here right now? What do you mean, why? You never paid me back my $5! Wait, really?
It was that easy. Henry reached into the Tangle's massive wires and pulled out the exact $5 bill he borrowed from so many years ago. He never even spent it, which William was a bit ticked off about, but getting it back was all he really wanted. Resolving the very problem that started all of this chaos to begin with, Henry and William looked at everyone mingling around them and realized that they had wasted decades of their lives for nothing. Luckily, Ferdinand von Bernard appeared, with an ambient vibe that he was going to help somehow. Ferdinand looked expectantly at the group of misfits, but almost none of them recognized him, and absolutely no one knew why he showed up. Ferdinand, now equally confused, asked Gregory if he had translated the message conveniently left in his living room. Gregory told him that he wasn't really out on a lore hunt, and Ferdinand sighed as he realized nobody had intentionally followed his foolproof plan to fix the timeline, but at least it worked out anyway. However, Michael barged into the scene with pure rage in his eyes. Mike had solved the code, written in Ferdinand's patented Bear Latin, and realized the Golden Grizzly was trying to undo his hard work and bring back Bearkind by having Gregory destroy the Pizzaplex. Ferdinand, confirming his suspicions, explained that with Henry and William's conflict resolved, everyone's fates could be undone and start anew. The last thing Mike wanted from all of this was to lose everything he worked for just to make things right when he felt perfectly satisfied with things being wrong. Amidst his objections, Gregory walked up to Mike and just looked at him. He never truly appreciated him until now. Having not remembered much of his past life, he had mostly taken for granted the lengths his brother had gone through to try and restore their family. Now it was his turn to return the favor.
Mike, don't you want to go back?
There's no such thing. We lost our past. I carved us our own future. This was supposed to be your happiest day.
Well, it wasn't. I don't know where you were all night, but it sucked. This could be better. And that bear probably won't take no for an answer.
Do you really think so?
Michael, I never appreciated you at all. The thought never even occurred to me, quite honestly. But, you are remarkable. You deserve to craft a legacy to be proud of and not continue everything I've destroyed. We can go back to the family diner and do it all again. I want to fix this. I know I can. And now, I've got my $5 back to do it!
Why did you care about that again?
Not important. But I promise I will care about you! Okay, let's go home, Ferdinand.
With that, everyone relevant to the original tragedies at Freddy's was warped to a new timeline with new horizons. And everyone else was left wondering if they had been cursed to have avoided reality.
Wait, Gregory was Mike's kid?
No, they're siblings.
Wait, but Mike was like 67.
I know, that family's weird.
So, now what?
I guess we just go home?
That sounds cash money to me!
What is your frickin' problem?
Back to 1983, the years of madness that had inflicted everyone went away in a flash, and everything was right once more. Everyone's previous fates were undone, William and Henry's consciences were finally somewhat clear, and Elizabeth got slightly more screen time. And thanks to Ferdinand's generosity, William and Henry worked together on a new creation for the first time in forever. As a gift to the Golden Grizzly, the dynamic duo forged the perfect partner, a 24-carat rabbit named Sigmund Bonaparte. Ferdinand was overjoyed at his new companion, and the two departed to restore Bearkind across time and space. Now, to seal their new horizons forever and ever, William Afton and Henry Emily gathered their families together for a ceremonious reunion celebration. They wouldn't waste their second chance now that they had learned their true lesson. The real Five Nights at Freddy's timeline was friendship all along.
Oh, it is so good to see everyone so happy, but I still miss him.
What's shaking, girly pop?
Bonnie, you are here.
Someone's gotta keep you from blowing up, man. I'm impressed you lasted so long without me.
I tried my best, until, of course, I did not.
Well, pal, I ain't going anywhere this time. And you ain't getting swing-locked to me again either, capiche?
Not even a little?
Ugh, the nerve of that guy. I could never get a word in with him and me.
The evil clown lady had the brave detective in her clutches. All hope seems lost. But then, Jake McNally saved the day by trapping her in her worst memory. Learning a Star Wars casting spoiler. I just can't shake the craving. I cannot describe to you how delicious agony was.
Well, you actually did 2 minutes ago. It sounds like dark chocolate to me.
Don't be ridiculous.
Here, I've got some right here. Try a bite.
Oh my god.
Problem solved.
Michael, you really outdid yourself this time. I can't believe we never considered this before.
Oh, you actually like my idea for a water park?
That too, but no. You somehow made the pizza taste good.
It helps to cook it longer than 2 minutes, you know.
It was cost effective. We have premium tablecloths.
You suck at pinball.
Oh, you suck at everything.
You suck at being plot relevant.
Huh. You'll want to talk. Remember what happened to your brother in our old life?
He got better.
You know, I can't help but think you two would have had a really interesting dynamic if Dad replaced you with a robot after you died.
That's oddly specific, Sam.
Weirdo. Don't you have a paper to write?
Already finished and edited. I feel like an expert on parallel universes already.
Great. Go tell a parallel us instead.
So, I was really into studying Fazbear history. I thought Marie's costume manor was made up by Fazbear Games, but you're saying otherwise. Anything else interesting about you?
I have a secret Fazbear mimic!
Okay. What's your secret?
Gender fluid.
Hell yeah.
There we go. Now you should be able to walk again, Dad.
Thank you. But why did I get saved for last? You gave all the laser tag hooligans new legs before your old man.
All the other staff bots bribed her with carrot cake.
What?
What? No.
I'll get it.
We're alive again.
Hey, Dad, we might have shipped the game wrong.
You what?
Yeah, general communication problems. I told them to include you as the final boss in an underground pizzeria, and somehow they turned you into, like, an Easter egg that mysteriously appears in the corners of the pizzaplex.
I don't see what the problem is. That sounds awesome.
Well, it is, but you were never that cool.
I know.
So, these are all the skins they've made for Dad in the game I told you about.
I'm sure he'd be flattered.
He was. So I asked them to remove tiny details to tick him off.
The sister has arrived at your location.
Oh, great.
Hey Liz, check these out!
Wow, Mike, you really dressed up like a clown for this?
What? No! That's Father!
Wait, no, but you're... Oh, for goodness sake. You two are so hard to tell apart.
I would never wear that wretched rabbit suit.
You look like you would.
That's a shameful notion.
Oh, I swear you... No. You look
No, I wouldn't
exactly
be stupid enough to wear
alike.
a spring-lock
and
suit
I'm not
after
budging
what
on
you
that.
did.
Oh, we're bringing up the scooping room again.
Oh, I didn't
Get
even
over
mention
yourself.
Scooper. Great
Didn't
going on
die?
there.
Oh, boo-hoo. You had to sit in a fridge for a while. I had a claw in my abdomen.
Oh, woe is you. I've heard it all before.
Hey, Will, look at this. I found my old memento box.
Are your old bird movies considered mementos now?
That's not the only thing I used it for.
Only thing I saw you do with it.
I changed the contents of this box plenty of times. Until I forgot about it, at least.
Well, don't disappoint me. Let's see what old junk you threw in there. Henry?
Do you recognize any of this?
It's hazy, but... When did we start this company again?
Well, it was 1983. I know that much.
Then tell me why this is dated in the 1970s.
Oh my god. I remember. I can't believe we've been so blinded by our own success that we completely forgot about them.
What can we do?
We have to make things right. But it's been so long that I think I have an idea. But
Do what you must. I'll catch you on the flip side, old friend.
Thank you for coming here. You've already done so much for us, but I have a favor to ask of you. We've tried to atone for everything, but I'm afraid that we didn't do enough. Our wonderful new life still bears the scars of our oldest sins. I can't accept that. I know this is a vicious cycle, but something is still wrong. You have the power to reset our reality from the beginning. You've already done this before, but I need you to do it again. From the very beginning. Not for my sake. For theirs.